Hello, everyone. My name is Tooways Asmal. Welcome to another episode of Two Ways to Skin a Cat, a show where we talk career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. The main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than just climbing the corporate ladder. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and the show will be available on podcast by tomorrow. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. If you are joining us live, drop a 1 in the comments so that we know we're not talking to ourselves, and drop a 2 in the comments if you're watching the recording. My guest for this week is Rethabile Mashala, Chartered Accountant and Senior Manager at PwC. She focuses on IFRS insurance accounting, and IFRS 17 is one of her specialities. She's also the founder of The Balanced Professional. Rethabile, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me, Grace.
Let's jump straight in. Tell us your story. Where do you come from? And even outside of work, who is Rethabile Mashala? Give us that backstory.
Yeah, I'm originally from Limpopo, and later on in life, my parents moved to Hammanskraal, just a township or village outside of Pretoria. So I did my high schooling there in Pretoria and studied my undergrad at the University of Limpopo in accounting science, and I did my honors, my CTA, at the University of Johannesburg. And from there, I went to Grant Thornton, started my articles there, but I finished off my articles at EY, and I specialized in the audit of insurance companies. So that's really what I do and where I'm from, or my journey earlier years especially.
And outside of work?
And outside of work, I'm just a people-loving person, quite social, have a number of friends, do a lot, do hikes, and like wine tasting. That's my thing. That's really what I do. Church as well. That's a big part of what I do. I am a Sunday school teacher, and yeah.
I want to ask you a little bit about that Grant Thornton to EY. A lot of people are afraid in articles to move. There's a penalty, I think, involved. I don't like. Obviously, sometimes people work in nice places. Sometimes people don't work in nice places. As somebody who made a switch, what advice do you have for people?
I think my biggest advice, or what I learned from that, is that it really helps being honest with yourself and your aspirations. So my decision to go to Grant Thornton initially was based purely on the fact that I really didn't know what I wanted to specialize in when I was doing my articles. And the knowledge that I had was that the smaller firms grant you the opportunity to audit various industries, and at the end you can sort of choose your area of specialty. But 2 years into my articles, I actually realized I'm not that warehouse kind of girl that gets on forklifts and trying to count boxes and sitting in dusty warehouses. I decided, no, that's really not who I am. And luckily at the time, so Grant Thornton was going through a lot of changes as well, strategic changes. That's the year the SNG measure, BDO potential measure was going on. So during that uncertainty, I got an opportunity at EY to actually get into financial services because that's where I felt I belonged, and I didn't get a lot of that financial services experience at Grant Thornton. So that's when I decided to actually take on that responsibility, went into financial services, and then ultimately specialized in insurance.
Okay, that's amazing. So it wasn't just the fancy Santon building that EY had.
No. It was more than that.
Let's touch a little bit on IFRS 17 insurance contracts. So not the detail, because my IFRS knowledge is not great, or my updated IFRS knowledge at least. Why are you so passionate about IFRS 17 and insurance?
I mean, I got introduced to, okay, firstly, as a chartered accountant, you have really primary four options. You can go either into tax, accounting, financial management, or auditing. I knew auditing was not something I wanted to do. I mean, it gave me the exposure I needed to sort of decide what I wanted to do. But tax, I haven't even thought about tax in a very long time, except now I'm really forced to think about it with the implementation of the new standard. Financial management, not really been involved with that. So I just found myself stuck with accounting, which is ironic because that was never my favorite subject in varsity. It was actually my worst subject. But I just found myself in there. So a partner approached me actually in my third year of articles, and you spoke about that penalty period as well. So I took that, I had to take on that penalty as well when switching the firms. So I had, I'll call it the privilege of doing articles over an extended period. And when that partner approached me to stay at EY, the talking point or the selling point at that point, because I didn't want to be in audit, but the selling point was the big change that was coming in the insurance industry. The mostly talked about implementation of IFRS 17, which was going on or being built or introduced over the many years. And so I got attracted to that idea and the kind of possibilities and opportunities, career growth opportunities that will be introduced with this big shift, global shift. And it's not just South African entities that are impacted, it's global. So I got excited about that. I like things that are exclusive. I like things that are not the easy way out. Or so it's a very difficult standard. It's a very complex standard and requires a lot of investment in trying to unpack the issues. You find yourself working with people that you never thought you'd work with. Like you find yourself working with system engineers, process managers, actuaries, which we always worked with, but this time we're actually forced to work together and actually achieve the same goal. But it just exposed me to a wide range of different people and skill sets that I don't think I would have been able to attain sitting in a warehouse on a forklift or somewhere doing a stock count.
No, I hear you. As far away from a warehouse as possible. I'll keep that one in mind. I'll keep that one in mind.
Yes.
For the audience, we'll be responding to questions towards the end, so please add your questions to the comment section now so that we make sure we don't miss them. I noticed on your LinkedIn profile that you're currently completing your master's in commerce. If you don't mind me asking, why did you choose to do your master's, and how is it going?
How is it going? I think let's start with the difficult question. How is it going? I actually put it on hold for this year. I started with it last year, and I'll go into why I wanted to do it and how it fits in with my current role and my future plans. But I put it on hold because for various reasons. Last year was quite a busy year. There was a lot of changes. There were a lot of changes going on. I moved to Cape Town. I started a new job. There was just too much. So that didn't go so well. So I had to make a personal decision to just put it on hold. I'll go back to it, hopefully next year. But in terms of why I wanted to do it, like I said, I realized accounting was stuck with me. And I believe if you're gonna become something, you might as well just go all the way. And I don't believe in just being a CA, but I believe in specializing in certain topics. So I chose that master's because it the topics that are covered or the subjects that we focus on are more broad and extend further than just accounting, especially on the governance roles. And I think my long-term plans are around leadership at a very top management level, kind of in whatever organization that I work for. And actually, I chose a topic in IFRS 17, and just again to amplify the importance of specializing in what I do. Yeah, so, but then the other reason for posting it is actually because the standard just went live this year. And I think there's still a lot of moving parts that we are seeing with our clients. And I think I'll be in a much better position to get an area of research that I want to focus on next year post implementation, when we've gone through the rough journey of first time adoption.
Okay, well, that gives us a good understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us, I want to step back a little bit and tell us a little bit about the University of Limpopo. I don't hear too much about it in the media. I see there was a good couple of passes in the ITC, so there's something is happening there. What was your experience like?
Yeah, I was actually very excited when I saw those ITC results. I think that's where I always go first, just to see how are they doing. So my experience was a really good one. I was part of the last group that, so previously, before the university got accreditation to offer CTA, what we would do is after graduation, when you finish your undergrad, if you meet the UJ entry requirement into CTA, they would then send us over to UJ to go do our honors there. I mean, our CTA there. But and like I said, we were the last group. So in the year following, they got their first intake of CTA students or candidates, and I've been tracking that year on year just to see, in terms of the numbers, are they increasing? Are they achieving what? And comparing that also to the pass rate at UJ, because that used to be a like direct support university. And in terms of my experience, like I said, it was a good one. It was better than I expected. I mean, I initially never wanted to go there. It wasn't even part of my initial ideas, but I happened to find myself there, and I actually ended up liking it. I mean, the support that we got from financing, the accounting students were fully financed. The support from the lecturers, they were really dedicated to, I think the course was way bigger than just lecturing. It was more giving people an opportunity from backgrounds that would not really necessarily have access to those kind of opportunities. And those lecturers were really dedicated to giving us that experience and support. And I must say that I really enjoyed my time there. And yeah.
Okay, it's good that we know about it, and it's important to learn about the other universities in South Africa, and not just the 3 or 4 big ones or main
Yes.
ones. I noticed that you're also a founder. What is the Balanced Professional about? Tell us.
The Balanced Professional is my newest, I'll call it, invention. I mean, that's as creative as an accountant can get. The Balanced Professional is my newest creation. Let me call it creation. And it's basically just a personal blog that I decided to start. And I think over the years, the journey hasn't been an easy one. Sometimes it looks very easy, the moves between different companies, etc. But it's been a very rough journey, and it's taken a lot for me to get to this comfortable place and be like, this is where I belong in the market or in the industry, and position myself. But I think I just started that platform for myself, firstly, to share the learnings that I learned along my journey as in my earlier days in my career. And it goes as far as talking about my struggles with mental wellness, to just, I mean, my lessons from therapy that have actually helped me in approaching my work and becoming successful and performing to the level, the very high standard or level that I set for myself. So it's really like that online mentor, I hope, to the younger generation of CAs, and actually not just CAs, it's any young professionals starting out as they building towards their career, starting their career.
And before we move over to questions, this is from the audience, at least. Before we move over to questions from the audience, there's one question I like to ask all my guests: is what is one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
I think be compassionate with yourself. I've become really compassionate, and a lot has changed. Like when I see myself today and comparing myself to a year ago, 2 years ago, I used to be very strict and harsh, and in setting goals for myself, it was always right at the top. Get there, yes, very strict. If it's not perfect, it's not worth celebrating. If it's not perfect, it's not good enough. But I think I've learned to treat myself, or yeah, carry myself with a bit more compassion, make a mistake and learn from it, and not beat myself about it or question my whole existence or the value that I bring or add to the roles that I'm responsible for. So I think, yeah, just be more compassionate with yourself, and allow myself to learn and allow myself to grow into the things that I am tasked with.
That's good advice. Let's move over to questions. We
Okay.
got a question here from Zunani, slightly off track, but maybe we can give her some advice. Any advice on how to tackle CTA?
I think, yeah, that's a very broad question. And I think for anyone, and I'm just thinking of myself back in my CTA year, I would like to call myself an outlier, and I wasn't like the traditional, this is how a CTA student sort of has to act, and or how many hours they should study. I didn't follow all of that. Like I know a lot of people. I was in race, and sometimes I'd feel bad for not being in the library when everybody's flocking to the library, or staying up until too late when everybody's up until like 2 a.m. I think just be honest with yourself and your capabilities, and find ways that work for you. I'm a very early starter, so I would start my day at like 5 in the morning, study 5 until 1 p.m. And after that, anything after 1 p.m., I was just not productive. And I had to get to a place where I'm comfortable with how or how I work, and not compare myself to others. So that really worked for me because I was honest and I knew I was most productive in the morning. Even if I tried to work at night, I just fell asleep. I mean, I remember the first time I worked overtime at work. It didn't make sense to me, and I fell asleep in the audit room, and I was like, "Why are we here until so late? Like, that's way past my bedtime." That concept never really made sense to me. So I think be honest with yourself, do what works for you. If you study well in your room, there's no need to force yourself to go to the library and look like you're studying, because you're just exhausting yourself by sitting there and thinking about studying when you're actually not studying. So I think I would say be honest with yourself, your capabilities, manage your time to suit your needs.
I think that's great advice. And if I can maybe add, like, that is the year to sacrifice. Don't half-heartedly do CTA. Rather write off the year for social things. You can make up with your friends' birthdays and things like that the following year when you're earning a salary and you can buy them a nice gift. Get through CTA, like make that sacrifice that 1 year, because the people who don't make the sacrifice, they do it in the second and the third year. So write that
I
1 year off, give it your best, and your friends they'll forgive you the next year when you buy them again.
agree.
We've got one more question from Nanana, who says, "What advice would you give to a first-year trainee accountant in auditing?"
Um, trainee accountant and auditing. Again, that treating myself with compassion. I think I was very harsh with myself. So I think ask questions. Ask questions, learn from your seniors. Sometimes it's really not about what you've learned or what you know. It's really about the relationships you have within the team. So early on, build those relationships with your seniors. I mean, they've done the audit before you, the year before, or maybe for even 2 years already. And just understand, like, speak to the team, speak to the audit team. Don't just sit in your corner and suffer. I mean, even now, I still tell my teams, when somebody gives you a task, go through it and make come up with an approach in terms of how are you going to execute the task. Before you even start, speak to your senior, whoever gave you the task or whoever your reviewer is. Speak to that person and confirm that what you are going to do before you even do it, before you spend the whole day doing something that is totally wrong. I, like, just sit with them ahead of time. Explain your approach and make sure that it's in line with what they're expecting from you, like, or the deliverable or the final result is in line with what the reviewer is expecting to get from you.
100% agreed. And it's interesting what you say about relationships. Um, I'm a lot better at networking now, and when I look back, I wish I had worked and on developing networks in my articles. I didn't put a lot of effort into it at that stage. So that's a small one from me.
You're welcome.
And anything from your side, or anything we didn't discuss that you'd like the audience to know? Any last few words?
I think maybe just piggybacking off of that topic about relationships. Like I said, it's very important. I mean, you don't have to make friends or be social with everyone in the workplace, but it's very important to build on the relationships, especially in your early days. If you're joining a new organization or you're joining a new team, and especially for audit trainees, you move around different teams throughout your articles. I think that relationship aspect is really important. Sometimes it's not even about the skills that you have, because I believe everybody can learn their technical stuff. Like you've done CTA, you've studied, you know the facts, you know how to do research, you can find this information, you can read and actually come up with solutions. But it's really important to focus on those relationships, and don't isolate yourself. Become part of the team. People don't like team events, but I really encourage you, especially like I said in your articles, to build on those relationships. Have chats with partners, have chats with everyone in the team. Whatever opportunity you get, establish those relationships. And I think then people get to know you, they get to know who you are and what you're capable of, that you're a team player. If they give you any task, they can trust you to do it because you are invested in the team and the success of the team. So, yeah.
I think that's a great way to end. The show has been live on YouTube and should be available on podcast by latest tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast and you feel that it's added value, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. Rethabile, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Tooways.
Thanks everyone for joining us for another episode of Two Ways to Skin a Cat. Goodbye.
Bye.